Hi there, my name is Abel James with FatBurningMan.com, and thanks for checking out my video today. I think you're going to like it. It has all sorts of surprises, and we're going to bust some myths about exercise and nutrition. Despite what conventional wisdom tells you, it is possible to get lean, ripped, and strong and healthy with just a few minutes of exercise a week. And I'm going to show you how based on my own personal experience. So how is all this possible? Well, it really comes down to simple body science. Let's start with what doesn't work, and common knowledge, as usual, is actually quite wrong in this case. So I'm going to debunk one of the most irksome myths about exercise and getting in shape. And this one, I think, completely frustrates people and leads them to give up and not exercise at all. And that's the myth that effective exercise means that you need to subject your body to some sort of punishment or pain, no pain, no gain. And that is completely false. It's absolutely not true. In fact, I know some people who don't really exercise at all. They just get up and walk a few times a week. And they have very low body fat. They're very healthy, but that, comes from a healthy diet, as I explained before. And me personally, I don't even go to the gym. I haven't been to a gym in years. And sure, I throw weights around from time to time, but I do it all at home. It's with just like a couple $100 of equipment, and I do it a lot less than most people would probably expect. And I'm gonna get into why next. In one of my many experiments guinea pigging on myself, I wanted to see how my body responded to different levels and types of training. And so after finishing in the top 3% of runners in my second marathon in 2 months, I decided to switch to shorter distances and start to prioritize sprints. I assumed that my body would be optimized when I was in tip-top marathon shape. But the results were far more interesting. So what does it look like in pictures? Well, the picture on the left shows me just before finishing my second marathon in 2 months. Like I said, running 50 miles a week with no sprints. The picture on the right shows me just a few weeks after finishing my second marathon, after I reduced my mileage to less than 5 to 10 miles a week and began incorporating sprints. So you can see on the left, I look a little puffy. It doesn't look bad, but I was 148 pounds, which is pretty small, especially for what I'm used to being. But then you look at the picture on the right, and obviously something has changed. It looks like I have a completely different body, and what you can't really see from the pictures was the color in my body and my face too. But I was at 157 pounds there. And all I really did was stop running so much and started sprinting. So holy smokes, not only did my muscles get bigger and more defined after replacing long runs with high intensity exercise, but my body also looked and felt much healthier. I reduced my body fat and increased my lean muscle by 10 pounds. And even I noticed changes in my face. I went from being, Sam the Eagle from Sesame Street skinny to a healthy normal. And this was all from exercising less. So what happened here? Well, have you ever noticed that endurance athletes are typically rail thin, pale, and look a little bit unhealthy? But what about athletes who are required to perform short bursts of maximum output, like sprinters? Well, typically they're jacked, and they look pretty healthy. So this is what happens when you run too much. Your body doesn't really know if it's running a marathon or if it just got run over by a truck. All it knows is that it's under a great deal of stress and is experiencing trauma. So your hormones go completely wacky, your fight-flight response is heightened, your cortisol goes way up. Your body pumps you full of all these different stress hormones. And for long-term training, fat loss, and health, this is all terrible news. Because it's always trying to recover from what you just did to it, and it's worried, essentially, about what you're going to be doing to it next and preparing for that, your body never really has a chance to heal itself. And as a result, your body gleefully eats away at your muscle. And that's a problem for women as well, because you want muscle. The more lean muscle that you have, that doesn't mean that you're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It just means that you're going to be more toned. You're going to have less body fat too. The people with higher muscle have higher metabolisms also. And so that allows them to eat the same amount of calories and actually not gain weight or even lose weight. The way that it works is that endurance training sends a signal to your body to become more efficient at using fat as fuel, whereas high intensity training sends the muscles an adaptive signal to become bigger and stronger and more efficient using glucose for fuel. With high amounts of endurance training, you're actually at higher risk of fat storage because you risk a starvation response, which is essentially the same thing as, if you eat 600 calories a day, you're basically on a starvation diet, and you'll lose weight for a little while until your body adapts and your metabolism slows down. Then you start gaining weight. Same thing happens if you're at a deficit when you say, you run 20 miles and you burn 2,000 calories and you don't replenish all those calories. So essentially, you're at a caloric deficit for days on end. The same thing happens. Your metabolism slows down, and you start eating away at muscle indiscriminately, and you start gaining fat because your body thinks that it needs it. And also, it's really the case with muscle: use it or lose it. And when you're running marathons, you're going to lose it. You're burning so much energy that your body is not going to prioritize muscle. You just don't need it. In fact, it weighs you down, and it hurts your performance. When you exercise a lot, it makes you hungrier, right? And so when you're running a marathon, I would come back from my long runs, and it was impossible for me to not eat an entire pie. I felt like an entire, tub of peanut butter. I needed to do it because my body was just like starving for, literally, for energy, and it just needed to replenish all of that, muscle and fat that I just burned. And so when you do short bursts of high intensity exercise, that doesn't really happen. You might get a little bit hungrier after you exercise, but you don't really experience that same sort of, I need to eat a pie right now hunger that you get when you're doing long cardio sessions. So the awesome truth is that you don't need to grind it out on a Stairmaster all day or power lift to achieve spectacular results. It's really possible to get lean and fit and healthy with just a few minutes of exercise a week. Granted, you're going to get the most bang for your buck by far by doing high intensity exercise in terms of conditioning and in terms of fat burning, because it actually burns fat long after you do the exercise when you do high intensity exercise, because it gets your heart rate up and has more of a hormonal response and a whole body response than simply trying to burn something off with very low intensity exercise. So here's the truth about whether or not you can get ripped with just minutes of exercise a week. The answer is yes, but with a very significant caveat. And that is, you can only do it with the right nutrition. Nutrition is going to be 80% of it. And then how you spend that 20% of exercise is extremely important as well. And I would say, if you want a body that's aesthetically appealing, that increases your markers of health and makes you feel great, you should run sprints. Don't run marathons. I made that mistake, and I'm trying to share that knowledge with you so you don't have to go through all the pain and torture that I went through when I was running all of those miles every week. All right, so that about does it. I want to thank you again for spending a few minutes with me and checking out this video, and I hope you learned a bunch today. If you like it, you can share it with all your friends and family, and next time you see a miserable chubby runner out on the trail, you can stop him and say, hey, what you should really do is run sprints. No, don't do that. Don't do that. It's tempting, now that you know what you know, but definitely don't do that. But do share this with friends and family and anyone who might think that it's interesting, and go try it yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Actually see how it feels to go out and do some high intensity exercise, and I have tons of ideas for doing that on my website if you haven't checked it out already, which is fatburningman.com. And if you'd like, just send me an email or some comments. I always love hearing from you guys, so I'll plan to catch up with you guys soon. Cheers.